Hey, what's up zombies internet? I'm the last Gambit and welcome to a brand new top 5 on the channel, and as you read the title of this video, we're gonna be covering the top 5 features I want to be introduced in Marvel Spider-Man 2, obviously gonna be for the PlayStation 5, once that game eventually is developed by Insomniac and published by Sony. I'm very excited for this game because, Marvel Spider-Man is one of the greatest games on the PS4, and it is my favorite PS4 exclusive of the PlayStation 4 era games. So I'm really excited for this game. Yeah, I had a rant release on Miles Morales and just like the remaster, but here's what I'm hoping for in the sequel. And I'm not talking a knockoff DLC that people consider a sequel with Miles Morales. I'm talking about an actual sequel with a brand new engine, a brand new game built from the ground up, from scratch. Basically a true Marvel Spider-Man 2, which will be exclusive to the PlayStation 5 most likely. So, we're gonna be covering the top 5 features of that, what I want in that game. So, get into this. Please follow me on social media, Instagram, Storyfire, all linked in the description below. As well, subscribe to join the Zombies Internet Army and turn on notifications so you'll be notified when I upload a brand new video to the channel. As well, check out our podcast, Thumbcast, in the description below as well as our Discord server. Thank you all for your incredible support. Let's push to that 100 subscribers. That would be amazing, Zombies Internet. Let's get into this. Without further ado, let's go. Coming in number 5, we have the legendary feature of what I think the sequel is gonna do, and that's a bigger map than what we got. Obviously, the same map is not gonna return. I mean, obviously it's gonna be New York, but obviously since it's a new game, it's a new engine, and they have stronger and better hardware with the new consoles, we're gonna see a great map expansion and extension, and maybe an entire brand new version of New York built from the ground up for the brand new sequel. That's what I'm really hoping for. I'm hoping for a way bigger area, maybe add some of the islands, like Long Island that are near New York City. Heck, maybe even go insane and give us a section of New Jersey that we can explore. That'll be a first as well. As well as I wish that in the first game we had the option to explore the raft fully, but we can only go for a main mission there, but that area almost felt like it was unused, and it was right there outside of New York in that water bay, sort of like an Alcatraz type thing, and I hope they make that area playable in the open world, and maybe have a couple of side missions set there as well, just so you have a reason to go there more often, and obviously have story missions and all of that, like design and stuff. And another thing that fits into this bigger map is obviously the interiors. Marvel Spider-Man, you can not explore any interiors while free roaming in the open world. And that just makes me think back to the time of yeah, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a terrible game, but you could go to your house whenever you want. Spider-Man 3 is a terrible game on the PS3, but you can go to your house, you can go to Harry's house, you can go to the museum, you can even glitch into the church. I mean, it was really cool to have that option in the game where you can, you can go to your house whenever you want. And that was pretty cool, that not a lot of games do that. Even Spider-Man 2 for the PS2 did that. You could explore your own house. So I hope that also is part of the map expansion, and in Peter's next new apartment, hopefully we can actually walk inside and explore it and stuff, because it was cool to see it in cutscenes in Marvel Spider-Man, like the first one, but you can literally never go back there, even though you have a fast travel option there. And obviously, nobody uses the fast travel in Marvel Spider-Man because the web swinging is so good. So coming in number 4, we have more varied side missions. How many times did you, while playing through and free roaming in Marvel Spider-Man, have a person kidnapped, Peter saying that his suit can, muffle in on low sounds, and then you'll find them and you'll fight the criminals? Or how many times will you stop a car, those random events? How many times you'll stop a car and then a truck full of criminals will show up? Way too many. Those are my least loved of those side quests, because they pretty much are boring. They constantly appear, and it's always those two. So for some reason, it's always those two. I don't know if they've remedied this issue in the PS5 version of Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, or Marvel Spider-Man Remastered, but it's a huge issue in Marvel Spider-Man in general. And as the original, I'm covering the original game here in isolation of the other games. So hopefully they fix that issue, as well as add more side missions type of like Batman Arkham City or Batman Arkham Knight, where every side mission you're doing a completely different quest and different using different set of skills that the engine and the gameplay engine actually allows you to do, and what that game is at that point. So like, you know, maybe add a side mission where you have to track down Tombstone again, like those side missions did have. And then maybe now next we have another side mission where we track down, I don't know, the Lizard, for example. Like, all of the Batman Arkham Knight / Arkham City side missions were always leading you to a well-known DC Batman supervillain, like, I don't know, for example, Deadshot, the Riddler, and etc. and etc. I was very disappointed to find out that they obviously be copying the formula from Rocksteady and the Arkham cities, but it's something awesome. It's something very cool. You know, it's very unique, so like, why wouldn't you copy that idea? Plus, that way you have a way to introduce more boss fights and more villains into your game, which adds a bit more replay value, and then maybe you can even talk to them like you can in the Arkham games, like press X to talk to them and they bring out these different lines of dialogue, and that would be pretty cool to actually interact with the villains post in, like, game, in like the open world section, maybe in prison or maybe in some kind of a secured area, depends on where you put them. That was pretty cool. I wish they did that. And now we're gonna get into number 3, and that number 3 would be different ways to unlock suits. Now, I really did enjoy like the gathering of the tokens, and that way you unlock the brand new suit, and I hope they keep it that way. For example, if they introduce, let's say 20, they're obviously way more than 20, but let's say they have 20 suits in Marvel Spider-Man 2, and 12 of them are unlocked through these token ways, if that's how they're gonna bring it back, the unlock system like the first game. But maybe you have a couple of suits that are unlocked through side missions. Again, terrible game, but let's think the Amazing Spider-Man 2, where you have to complete those Russian hideouts to actually unlock the suit. Plus, that will be introducing another section of side missions that you can do for that 100% completion. Plus, you can create more interiors, which creates more game design, and you can be more creative. Make them difficult, like, okay, not way too difficult. Don't go like Dark Souls on me, but make it more difficult than, like, for example, if you're playing a game on normal, those side missions will be set on hard, pretty much. And then you have to complete them and you get a badass suit. Basically, and you have to do a combination of, you know, actual fighting and stealth fighting, and you are not supposed to fail the stealth fight like the Amazing Spider-Man 2. You have to beat most of them, like, stealthily, so the players really are forced to use stealth, because a lot of players I know that really didn't use stealth in Marvel Spider-Man. Here they'll be forced into it, and then we'll unleash another couple of waves, sort of like the wave side missions that you have when securing like enemy hideouts, and then you release waves on top of waves of enemies in actual fighting. But you have a, let's say, a wave or two where you actually have to do it in stealth, and then at the end you don't just get a token, you actually get a suit for your efforts. Because obviously you'll be getting closer to a suit in Marvel Spider-Man, but you can do that side mission where you nearly die like 100 times and you complete like a full quest of, like, you know, beating wave and after wave of these like criminals, and the only thing you pretty much get is, like, you know, just 1 or maybe 2 or 3 tokens. So like, I wish they do something way more than that, like, and give us a couple of specific suits you can only unlock in these side missions. But that would be a lot more gameplay variety than, you know, just collecting tokens and unlocking the suit. Obviously, keep that feature in. Why not have both features? We can mix the both worlds together. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Number 2 is another feature that is from the Batman Arkham series, and that's challenge maps. Why aren't challenge maps back in the series? That's pretty cool. That's awesome. Have, you know, the challenge maps where you fight infinite waves until you die. Have a challenge map where you fight infinitely until you get hit once. Why not have a challenge map where, like, obviously you have infinite waves, but it progressively gets harder and harder, sort of like the Call of Duty Zombies things, and you have to gather, like make some resource to carry better gear throughout the rounds. Maybe you start off like with zero, like minimum amounts of health, minimum amounts of energy, and stuff like that, and like bare moves, and you collect points after beating waves on top of waves to get better and unlock better gear, unlock better skills. Obviously, that's not supposed to dampen the effects of like the main story and you 100%ing the main story to actually unlock, you know, the suits, the upgrades, the skills. Obviously, if you play those in the main game, you'll keep those, but once you go in this challenge map specifically, you will be like put back to bare minimum. You can upgrade your health, you can upgrade your skills, you can upgrade your tech, and throughout the rounds until you actually die at the very end. It'll be pretty much introducing Call of Duty Zombies in Marvel Spider-Man, and that sounds pretty unique to me. And then, obviously, if we're gonna have multiple playable characters, that'd be also pretty cool, but I'll just cover that in a second. But also introduce maybe the stealth maps, the predator maps, the actual fighting maps, and maybe you have a couple of challenges set in, and maybe those challenges actually give you tokens in the main game to unlock. Like, obviously they sort of had those challenge maps in those like Fisk hideout missions, where it's pretty much, a challenge map that you can always repeat if you want to in the open world. But this time you're not limited to the open world. You can actually fight in interior rooms, and you go from the main menu, maybe choose a different map, and with a loading time of like actual Marvel Spider-Man 2 using the file power of the PS5, you can actually do that on map. You go to that area, activate the map, activate the challenge map, activate the general mini menu where you maybe set out the difficulty, you do this and that, and then you actually go to fight, and then you fight. And obviously before you fight you can actually change your suit whichever you want to in game, like Marvel Spider-Man did, which was pretty awesome. You didn't actually have to quit the game, then go into the main menu, then change the suit, and then go back into the game like the Batman Arkham Knight did. This was in game, and that was like outstanding to me, and I'm 100% guessing, I don't even have to guess, that feature is returning, no cap. So like, and obviously another part of the challenge maps, that another thing Arkham series did, is obviously have multiple playable characters with their own voice acting, their own skills, and their own gadgets and tech. And that is also gonna switch into my number one, which we will cover it. And the number one coming, multiple playable characters. If Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales proved anything, is that the engine, and heck, the first version of the engine with that Insomniac built for this first game and Miles Morales, proved that it can handle multiple characters. Now, how did it prove that? Well, I mean, you only play in these separate games, you only play as Peter and Miles. But in Miles Morales, there's literally a glitch where you can play as Peter Parker. Obviously, he's a bit rough on the edges, but his animations are Peter's, and his fighting animations and his swinging animations, are all Peter's. So it's 90% there to being like two playable characters in one game, pretty much playing as Miles and Peter. And obviously the sequel is obviously going to build off of Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Marvel Spider-Man, so I'm guessing both Peter and Miles are going to be their full-on grown Spider-Man, and they'll have separate story missions, obviously uniting missions as well, where maybe Peter trains Miles a bit more and they get ready to fight Norman Osborn, who becomes the Green Goblin, and a third playable character that I hope that he can introduce to even exceed our expectations, and that will be, please, 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 Insomniac, Brian Intihar, please listen to me. Venom. Your new playable character would be Venom. Like, this is obviously just a big pipe dream. That's probably not gonna happen. I mean, crazier things have happened this year, so it might happen, but I'm not gonna assume anything. But I hope they introduce Venom as a full-on playable character within the story mode, and maybe we follow Harry, since obviously this version is doing Harry Osborn instead of Eddie Brock. So maybe follow Harry, like, give him a huge role within the story to make up for his, absent role in the first game and being relegated to just, direct references and a couple of pictures here and there of Harry Osborn, and a side missions that you do for him, but it's not actually even just a recording of him. Obviously do that. I have him be as Venom maybe, and basically copy what Ultimate Spider-Man did, where you get to fight Venom as an AI, as the enemy of the game, like one of the boss fights between maybe Peter and Miles team up to stop Venom, obviously, and maybe towards the end, since Venom is more of an anti-hero character, he's not a full villain, he joins Peter and Miles to stop the Green Goblin, and it breaks into this ultimate boom boom bam thing, which would be pretty cool, and it will be a lot of like I feel like fan service done correctly. I don't want fan service just for the sake of having fan service. Marvel Spider-Man handled that perfectly, and I'm guessing they'll do that here again. So like, make Venom playable character, that way you have 3 playable protagonists, and they all have their own skill trees, they all have their movesets, they all have their gadgets. Obviously, I would replace, obviously, for Venom, it wouldn't be gadgets, it would just be more things the symbiote can do, and maybe you can explore that within the story. As well, basically, Harry will be longer and longer with the symbiote, discovers newer and newer abilities, after using him longer and longer. Plus, there would be a character/story explanation of him getting new abilities that you don't have maybe access to at the beginning. And obviously, don't make Venom playable from the very beginning. Do it progressively to the story. Once you introduce Harry, once he actually fully becomes Venom, maybe you fight him once or twice in a boss fight, and then you make him playable for a couple of missions. Then you go back to Peter and Miles. And basically 3 playable protagonists, a long-ass story, a great villain in Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, which was set up perfectly. Obviously, bring back a couple of more villains. I'm hoping Mysterio to stop, and maybe actually have Venom versus Mysterio. That'd be pretty cool. And basically have their own mode. Have all 3 characters have. Think of like GTA 5, how it did it, for example. And you can switch between the 3 whenever you want. And that would be pretty cool. I'm also hoping for, obviously, we're getting Symbiote Spider-Man. That's definitely in question. We're getting that suit in the sequel. And hopefully maybe we also get another suit for Miles, and we get Symbiote Miles as well. And then after those 2 switch their symbiote suits, it goes to Harry, and then we have the full-on Venom that we know and love. And maybe, I don't know if they'll bring that feature, but maybe have him eat people to regen himself like Ultimate Spider-Man. Now this one is just 5G. I just want Venom playable. Bring not that feature, I don't care. Just make Venom a thing in Marvel Spider-Man 2, just besides having him be a villain. Because Venom he's like a fan. He's on that level of he's a well-known villain, but he's also a big fan favorite of one of the villains and / anti-heroes that people just want to play as him. Like you announced that Venom is also going to be one of the playable characters. I think even if the game is terrible, you'll have unlimited sales. So like that's what I want out of these. These are my top 5 features about Marvel Spider-Man 2 and pretty much my wish list for what I want in Marvel Spider-Man 2 and what I actually think it would objectively improve the sequel against the first one. So if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to leave that like button. Your support means a lot to me, as well as subscribe to join the Zombies Internet Army and turn on notifications so you'll be notified when I upload a brand new video to the channel. Check out my Discord as well, Wayne Manor, in the description below, as well as check out our podcast, Hubcast, again in the description below as well. I want to thank you all for your incredible support, and if we can push to that 100 Zombies Internet Legends, let's get there. Let's do this. We can finally hit that triple digit. That would be incredible. Your support means a lot to me all the way up until this point, and obviously in the future. Can't wait to see you guys in the next video, and bye!